It's my last day in the city of Encarnación in Paraguay, and I thought I'd go out to somewhere that's been recommended to me, which is Trinidad, a small town just on the outskirts of the city. And to get there I need to go by bus, but I've no idea how to get there, so I need to ask someone. And instead of asking someone, just look at the front of the buses and you've got Trinidad Centro. Right, so I've just been on and I've got to wait 15 minutes before I get on. That was a lot of Google Translate trying to work out what was happening. So I've come into the shade like everybody else because it is a bit of a warm day today. But Trinidad, it's been somewhere that's been recommended by a few people in this city, and it's famous for its ruins. That's all I know. Jesuit ruins. I decided to have a sit down because I'm a little bit tired, but this is everyday Paraguayan life in Encarnación. So the reason I'm tired is, for the first time in a month, I went for a run this morning. That makes it 2 in 2 months, and my fitness is not getting any better. So as I ran along the waterfront, which is in that direction down there, I took a little video of me running. It's hard. It was a slow jog. I need to get myself back into some fitness levels because I've signed up for a 10k run back in my hometown in August, and then for some reason I will sign up for a half marathon in December. This is my motivation, but it's coming to 5 to 12. Hopefully the bus is going to give me a shout in a minute. Hopefully. Right, it's just after 12. I'm on the bus. I had to walk around the side. That's the bus stop. Two ladies just over there thought I was looking for a hotel, so they tried to take me to a hotel to stay in. I was like, no, Trinidad. But it's just a local bus. I've not paid to get on yet. I think you've got to wait for someone to come around, get the money, so I've no idea how much it costs. But here we go to Trinidad. It takes about 40 minutes-ish. It's an adventure. And I'm here. So after explaining to the bus conductor where I wanted to go, I've been dropped off at the side of the road. And I've been told to head straight down that way for about 15 minutes. Well, that's what I've been told by the map. I did ask what time the buses are back. There's a bus station just across the road, bus stop. I don't think my Spanish is that good enough for him to understand. But saying that, I've just seen a bus as I was getting off, so I'm hoping that it's every hour. Hopefully. So it's taken an hour to get here. It's a local bus. It costs 20,000, and what am I going to see? Well, this is going to be La Santísima Trinidad de Paraná. Of all the Jesuit missions in South America, the one I'm about to see is one of the best preserved. Now I got a little bit confused because the entry to the village, the small town, is further down that way, but bus drivers, bus conductors know better. 15-minute walk Yeah, with a beautiful view of a power plant. I think it's time to put some music in my headphones and take a slow walk, because I'm still feeling the effects of the run this morning. Now, if you're a regular watcher of my channel, you'll probably notice Stu's got a new hat. I've got a red one. This was given to me this morning by one of the young blokes in the hostel that works there, Matthias, who wanted to give me a gift. So I said, thank you. Something to remember him by. So, Matthias, Matty, as I call him, thank you very much. He will be watching this to make sure I'm still wearing it. But yeah, in with some music. So I've walked about 10 minutes. It's a long road, but at the end there's gates that are locked, and this is where I'm meant to be going inside. And if they're locked, I might have to walk around, back down and around that way. Damn, they're locked. And there's the ruins in the background over there. Easy enough to climb over if it wasn't illegal. Let's try down here. So I've walked around this way and I think I've hit gold. The Mission Jesuits Guarani. There it is. And look, there's some tourists. Interesting place, this Trinidad. You've got humans, chickens, dogs, calves, ducks, all living together in harmony. I like it. Right. You've got to buy a ticket to go in. 40,000. Oh well. So, got my ticket, and the time now is 5:10, late afternoon. And if you're thinking, whoa, hold on, Stu, it was only about 1:30 earlier on. I arrived without my wallet, and I thought I'd lost it. I thought it might have fallen out of my pocket on the bus. I couldn't pay with Apple Pay, so I had to go back. Took an hour to get back, and my wallet was on my bed. So if you're thinking, whoa, how did you pay for the buses? For some reason, I had a roll of notes that wasn't in my wallet, in my pocket. It's been there for the last 2 days, and I keep meaning to put it in my wallet. And it came to exactly 40,000, which was 20,000 for coming here and 20,000 for going there, going back. And I thought, oh, well, why has my brain not acknowledged the fact my hand's been in my pocket and not found the wallet? Just gone, oh, I've got my 40. But I'm here. And I was determined to come today because tomorrow I'm leaving. So, wallet forgotten about, I'm here. The sun is starting to go down, but it adds to the atmosphere. And this is it. So the quick history, and I've had plenty of time on the bus to learn all about it. Basically, the Jesuits came over here with permission from the Spanish and said, look, we can help you turn the indigenous people religious. We can convert them. So the Spanish said, go on then. So the Jesuits came over here and said, right, let's start building little towns. We'll get the indigenous people to come in and then we'll convert them. Now, the Jesuits only answered to one person, and that was the Pope, not the Spanish king. Wow, look at all that. Let's get a bit closer. There you go. Wow. So there's various towns, settlements within Paraguay, Argentina, Bolivia that started to become more rich, more successful, and the Spanish didn't like it. So what they do? Ask them to leave. That's a polite way. And that is just a rough history, because I know I get some people going, well, what you missed out was. But this is the most intact town that they have in the whole of Paraguay. In fact, anywhere in South America. In fact, I'm going to start up here. So there's a sign there saying major church, the main church. Oh wow. So the cost to get here is 40,000. It's a tourist price, and then it's 25,000 for locals, even though there is plenty of people who live in this town that seem to just be walking around and just hanging out. Original floor. Oh wow. They've even got a font for baptizing. Now the Spanish did go along and destroy most of these Jesuits civilizations, settlements, the things like that. But for some reason they didn't really do much to this one. I think a lot of this is to do with just wear and tear through the centuries. Oh, look at that. That's quite impressed. Now I did ask what time this place closes, and it's 8 o'clock tonight. And seemingly it is, the girl said through Google Translate, it looks better at night time. So maybe this wallet was meant to happen, being left behind. It's cool. Hello mate. I do like the way they've got the signs telling you exactly what they are. Are you allowed to go down that way? It's a crypt. There's a light on. Right, these guys would have been very small because I'm leaning over. Oh, is that it? This is where they put the coffins. Oh, cool. Right, this is the end. This is the altar. It's a big old church. If this was the main church, look at the size of it. Right, time to take some pictures. So these missions weren't just like poor little villages or towns. They had farms, workshops, trade. They produced goods, made money, and they ran efficiently without any Spanish control. Right, we'll have a wander down here. So one thing that the Spanish didn't like was that the Jesuits actually protected, they shielded the indigenous people, the Guarani people, from slavery. Oh, it's a cemetery. Oh wow. And it wasn't just the Spanish that hated this, it was the Portuguese as well. mainly because they wanted cheap labour, but the Jesuits blocked it. So the kings back in Europe, Portugal, Spain, they didn't like the Jesuits' influence. They thought they were too political, too powerful. It was Portugal that kicked them out first, as in get out of South America in 1759, and then Spain followed in 1767. And it was basically all Jesuits out now. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Right, there's no sign to say what this is. Maybe it was a bakery. Or somewhere that sold wallets. Ha! So I've just had to Google to find out why this one is still standing. I mean, it is ruins, but it's the most intact one you'll get in South America. So a lot of these missions, these villages, towns, were swallowed by the jungle. They were stripped for building stone, and they were damaged by the wars. Most of them were looted over the centuries, but this one here was built like a tank. Thick stone walls, and not flimsy like wooden huts. This was built to last, I mean, 300 years, doing well. And that sun is bright. I mean, it is fascinating to think that this was just built out of religion, that the indigenous people were welcomed and converted, they were protected. And when you think that this is one of the major tourist attractions for Encarnación, apart from a couple of locals who've already gone, a couple of staff over that way, I am the only one here. I've got the place to myself. And I've just seen, it says Indian house, but I think that means indigenous house. So this is where they would have lived. Where's the jacuzzi? Oh. In fact, this would have been a few of them living here. So I've just had a nice little walk around by myself, no camera on, but the sun is going down, and the effect it has on these ruins is magnificent. Really strong red colours coming through. I don't think you can see it on the camera. Yeah, I think I've come at the right time of day that I wasn't meant to be here for. One thing I found when I went round by myself was this would have been a smaller church, but then you've got this thing here, which is the bell tower, isolated by itself, and with the sunset behind it. Beautiful. Right, it is starting to get dark. Little bit creepy. There is a map here. I've been around it. It shows you everything that you can see. But this is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So this is protected. And I'm just in time because they've just locked the doors. They're just waiting for me to leave. Bye-bye. Now there is a sign up there with all the rules and regulations, say what you can and what you can't do for this area. But just see, if you've got a ticket, keep it, because it'll get you into the other missions in this area. Really? Because if they're locking this one up, that means they're locking the rest of them up. So maybe it's time to go home. Plus the fact I don't know what time the buses are. or what time they finish, if they're still on. So this is the entrance to Trinidad. I mean, for a small town village, that's quite impressive. And then it's got its name in lights. But there's the bus station. There's someone there already, which means there's definitely buses on this time of night. So my plan earlier was to be my last day today, head off somewhere new tomorrow. However, after being on the buses for so long, I've thought about it and thought, why not go across the border to Argentina for the day, to a city that I've not been to yet? Why not? So I might just do that. But if you've enjoyed this video of Trinidad, then all you gotta do is press that like button. If you want to see if I can get into Argentina without having a exit stamp when I left last time, then subscribe. But until the next time, I'm off to get a bus. Bye bye for now.